Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. The topic of today's training is contracting with a food service management company. So let's first start out by understanding the difference between a vended meal contract and a food service management contract. A vended meal contract includes just the procurement of cooked food. The vendor drops off the prepared food either in bulk or individual meals. The SFA staff at the site handles the service of food to students as well as the point of service, etc. The vendor provides no services to the SFA. A food service management company, however, includes both procurement of food and services. While each contract could be different, typically the food service management company would cook and serve the food, handle the point of service, handle the cleanup, etc. The services that are provided by the FSMC are totally up to the SFA. All SFAs can procure cooked food as long as the procurement regulations are followed. Charter schools are allowed to contract with a private for-profit food service management company for student meals. SFAs can use the FSMC as a vended contract, but it isn't required. The advantage to using the contract is that you are assured that the contract meets USDA guidelines. So let's take a look at what the sponsor responsibilities are in contracting with a food service management company. The SFA is responsible for ensuring that the procurement of the food service management company follows all of the USDA regulations as well as state regulations. Regardless of the dollar value, food service management contracts must be competitively bid using the prototype that's been provided to you by LDOE's Division of Nutrition Support and approved by USDA. USDA approves this prototype for 1 year only. All SFAs must use the prototype for the year that is designated. So the sponsor is also responsible for completing the FSMC procurement process for both the initial contract and all of the annual renewals. They are to oversee the implementation of the contract to assure that the contract terms are met. The sponsor must also monitor the performance of the FSMC at least twice each school year. And for multi-site sponsors, they must conduct an on-site review of meal counting and claiming in all sites by February 1st of each year and develop corrective action plans as are needed. The sponsor must implement a food service advisory committee that is composed of parents, teachers, the FSMC, and students to assist with meal planning and ensure that the FSMC follows through with menu changes. There have been a number of findings on administrative reviews due to the SFA not having an advisory committee meeting or not including parents, teachers, or students, not having documented minutes of the meeting, and not implementing recommendations from the advisory committee. The authorized representative must appoint and train all determining officials and the hearing official. But assistance is available to you from the state agency if you need. The sponsor also must distribute the free and reduced application for CNP benefits and the related information to parents and guardians that collect applications that are submitted to receive benefits. The sponsor must administer all aspects of the meal eligibility verification process, complete and submit the monthly claim, maintain a separate food service fund to which reimbursement and other food service revenues are posted and where expenses are paid. A food service management company or a consultant cannot submit claims for the SFA. And the state agency strongly discourages the SFA from giving out their name and password to others for them to submit the claim. You must remember that the SFA is 100% responsible for anything submitted in their name or submitted by someone that has been given access to their online system. We have had instances where the SFA is depending on a consultant to submit the claim, and the consultant doesn't submit the claim in a timely manner. It's the SFA that loses the reimbursement, not the consultant. The determining officials of the organization are responsible for processing applications and including approval, denial, and follow-up with the households to obtain complete information. The determining officials enter the data into the computer and maintain control of the computer system that automatically determines eligibility. The sponsor is also responsible for administering the direct certification process and for notifying parents and guardians of the student's application status. So let's talk about the procurement of the food service management contract. The prototype request for proposal provided by LDOE must be utilized to procure food and services with an FSMC. The prototype must be used with no alterations, additions, or deletions. And this process should begin several months before the effective date of the contract. The effective date of all contracts is recommended to be either July 1st or the beginning of the school year. Contracts are written for up to 1 year with the option to renew the contract for an additional 4 years. All contracts end on June 30th each year. Sponsors must comply with all regulations concerning procurement, and that includes 2 CFR 200, 7 CFR 210, 215, 220, 225, and 250, as well as other USDA guidance and instructions. The sponsor must also follow state and local laws and regulations and policies that are not in conflict with the federal requirements. This USDA publication, entitled Contracting with Food Service Management Company Guidance for School Food Authorities, also provides guidance for contracting. And the web address is at the bottom of the slide. So to begin the process, we're going to download the appropriate year's RFP prototype from the Child Nutrition Program website. There's also a detailed instruction guide on the CNP website to assist you in completing the RFP. The state agency strongly encourages the SFA to develop the 21-day cycle menu. Remember that the 21-day menu in the proposal must be used for the first 21 days. If the SFA allows each food service management company to submit a menu, the SFA is responsible for making sure that the menu meets minimum requirements. The state agency has made some changes to the FSMC proposal and contract this year. Under the designation of program expenses, several employee positions have been added in the event the SFA needs to include them in the proposal. A lot of this has to do with COVID, but if you need staff to deliver meals to the classroom, if you need point of service staff for snack or for CACFP at-risk dinner or snack, then you can add them now to your proposal. This enables the SFA to choose these options if they need additional staff from the FSMC to serve in these roles. Termination language was added to the RFP to cover a severe breach of contract that would warrant immediate termination by the SFA upon written notification to the FSMC. The severe breach of contract could include failure to maintain and enforce required standards of sanitation, failure to maintain proper insurance as outlined in the contract, failure to provide required information in a required time frame outlined in the RFP, or failure to maintain quality of service at a level satisfactory to the SFA. Please be aware that failure to meet health inspections as represented by LDH findings during site inspections or other food facilities under the FSMC control is not only grounds for termination of the contract, but it may exclude the food service management company from consideration in future RFPs or contracts. We've added some optional requirements that an SFA can choose. The RFP can dictate the number of entree choices at both breakfast and lunch, and the SFA can choose to have 2 varieties of fruit to comprise the fruit component at breakfast and for lunch for grades 9 to 12. Very often when the state agency representatives go to a school, we know 1 fruit is only being offered. But a student can take 2 fruits at breakfast to comprise the 1 cup and 2 fruits at lunch in grades 9 to 12. But many of the students aren't aware. If the FSMC only offers 1 fruit, the SFA and FSMC should provide signage to indicate that students can take 2 fruits or both fruits. The state agency has added several evaluation factors this year: professional development for staff, lost accounts, experience of the regional or district manager, unit manager, and company dietitian, and local procurement. The last 2 are optional. If the SFA makes the decision not to use these optional criteria, you just enter 0 on the form. The SFA must complete this form with the weight of each evaluation criteria, remembering that cost must be the primary factor. It is attachment BB of the FSMC proposal. The total possible points must equal 100. This document, completed with the evaluation factors, is to be provided to the state agency with the step 1 documents. The state agency has also added attachment CC, and it is entitled Food Service Management Company's Proposal Summary. This form summarizes the proposal submitted by the Food Service Management Company. The Food Service Management Company completes the meal prices and the years of experience in working with child nutrition programs, and then writes a summary of their proposal in each area in a condensed form. This summary form, along with the proposal itself, is used by the SFA to evaluate each food service management company. Attachment DD is also new this year, and it is also completed by the Food Service Management Company. The company is to list all child nutrition program accounts in Louisiana with a start date of July 1st of 2016 and forward. The SFA name, address, contact person with telephone number is included, along with the contract start date and the contract end date. If the contract was terminated before the end of the 5-year period, the FSMC is to include the reason for termination. The state agency strongly recommends that the contracting SFA communicates with these other SFAs that have contracted with the Food Service Management Company, especially for accounts the contractor has lost. They may gain valuable information. The Step 1 document can be found in the Food Service Management Company instructions for completing the RFP. The SFA completes and submits the original signed document to LDOE. Remember that all RFP contract documents must be signed by an employee of the organization that has been authorized to enter into contracts on behalf of the SFA. This should be the person listed on the online application as the superintendent or the authorized representative. Make sure to include the bid opening time, date, and address, and include the proposal award criteria form that includes the scoring weights for each evaluation criterion. After receipt of the completed signed Step 1 document, the sponsor will be given written approval by LDOE to begin the contract process. The SFA must solicit proposals from an adequate number of known qualified suppliers, at least 3 to 5 suppliers. The proposed procurement must be publicly advertised in at least one regional news source at least 21 days before the opening. The RFP is not to be advertised before state agency has given written approval. There have been several instances where the RFP has been advertised before the state agency approval has been given, or where the SFA advertised only one time. If the SFA does not advertise according to the guidelines, the RFP must be re-advertised. All proposals received by the SFA must remain sealed and should be opened publicly at the time and place that is stated in the RFP. When awarding the FSMC contract, the SFA should appoint an evaluation team of at least 3 employees, preferably employees that are familiar with the child nutrition program. The contract must be awarded to the most responsible and responsive bidder, who also is the lowest in price. There must be transparency in the FSMC award process. The process and the documents must be able to withstand public scrutiny. The SFA must be able to justify the award of an FSMC contract in sufficient detail that others would come to the same conclusion. To determine the scoring for cost, you utilize a formula. The FSMC that has the lowest cost receives the maximum number of points. To calculate the points for every other FSMC, you divide the lowest price by their price and then multiply by the maximum number of points without rounding. This RFP/contract is a fixed price contract. The Food Service Management Company may not charge the SFA for any other fees other than meal times rate. You cannot be charged administrative fees, delivery fees, late fees, or any other fees. The food service management company must propose a price based solely on meal times rate. And the SFA should not sign any other contracts or agreements with the food service management company. And remember that any other charges by the food service management company are considered unallowable costs. If the SFA is utilizing the state prototype RFP, the FSMC may only charge the SFA for meals served, not delivered. This is specifically stated in the prototype contract. So if you're going to use this contract as a vended contract or a food service management contract, the vendor cannot charge the SFA for meals delivered. They must charge for only meals served. The next criteria is years of experience. The score for years of experience is based on the number of years the company has been in business. The maximum points is 10. So even if a business has been in business for 25 years, they can only receive a maximum of 10 points. The next evaluation factor is financial conditions, stability, and business practices. The score, to determine the score, the committee members should review each FSMC's proposal. They should review their most recent financial audit, as well as the proposal and the proposal summary to determine the score for financial conditions and stability. Complete the justification for your scores. If adequate justification is not provided, we will not approve the contract. It is especially important to look at the FSMC's financial viability during COVID-19. We had a new food service management company that came into the state this year and canceled their contract in December because they were unable to sustain the sharp increases in prices that have come with COVID-19. So you need to make sure to look at that very carefully. The next category and evaluation factor is service capability plan. The scoring for the service capability plan must be based on how the FSMC demonstrates their ability to provide the services requested in the proposal, as well as verifiable proof that the FSMC has provided high quality service to other SFAs. The scoring committee has to do some homework to accurately evaluate this area. Contact other SFAs that utilize the FSMC. You can also request copies of student surveys, advisory committee meetings, reports, participation reports, and even the results of an administrative review. Were there any findings on the review that are attributed to the FSMC? Find out from other SFAs whether the FSMC was able to increase student participation. Increased participation means the students like the food and the service. If the food service management company was unable to increase student participation or participation decreases, there may be issues with the food service management company's ability to provide the required services. In looking at participation reports, I wanted to give you an example. This table represents the November 2020 and November 2021 claims for one of the charter schools in Louisiana. Last year, the students just expressed their dissatisfaction with the meals that the FSMC was providing. So as a result, the school went out to bid for this year and chose another FSMC that they hoped would increase student satisfaction and increase meal participation. I have received very good feedback from the SFA concerning their new food service management company, so I wanted to see how much participation had increased. In comparing the November claims for 20 and 21, I found that the lunch participation had increased by 7.45%, and breakfast participation had increased by 13.58%. How has the participation increased or decreased with each of the food service management companies that has submitted a proposal to your RFP? You want to see an increase in participation during their contract with other SFAs. You definitely don't want to see a decrease in participation. That is a sure sign that students don't like the meals they are being served. You can also ask SFAs to review a summary of the student surveys that they have conducted. Make sure there's no information about particular students in the summary, but we know every student wants steak and shrimp on the menu, but you can get an overall sense of how satisfied the students are with the food that they're being served by reviewing the surveys. You can look at advisory committee reports for other SFAs. Each SFA that has a food service management company must have an advisory committee. What recommendations are they making to other SFAs and the FSMC? These reports should be readily available from other SFAs. The documented advisory committee meeting recommendations and action by the SFA and FSMC are requirements of the child nutrition program. So you really want to take a look at those. What about health inspection reports? The SFA committee members should research how each FSMC scores on health inspections in the schools they operate. You can access the information by using the link on this slide or by searching Eat Safe Louisiana inspections. Your SFA should ensure that the food service management company keeps their kitchens clean and follows all the safety and sanitation regulations required by LDH. The manager has to also have passed a ServSafe course or other equivalent course and be a certified manager. As stated earlier, failure to meet health inspection requirements as represented by LDH during school inspections or facility inspections of the food service management company, such as a central kitchen, is grounds for termination of the contract and exclusion from consideration in future RFPs. The inspection example on this slide indicates that the food service management company is not keeping a very sanitary kitchen. Many of the violations are related to areas of the kitchen that are not clean. Some of the violations are due to poor maintenance on the part of the school itself. The last violation indicates that the FSMC began operations before obtaining a permit to operate. The SFA must not allow food to be prepared without having a valid permit to operate. Child nutrition program regulations do not allow any meals to be claimed in any child nutrition program without a permit to operate. Does the FSMC proposal state they encourage the use of commodities? Many food service management companies honestly don't like to deal with commodities because there is a lot of paperwork involved. And some SFAs don't like using them for the same reason. If you, as the SFA, are not receiving commodities, you are leaving money on the table and doing a disservice to your students. Commodities decrease the cost of the food served to the students. So it also decreases the prices that students have to pay. The food service management company may be charging the SFAs $3.30 for each meal, but the commodity credits could amount to 20 to 30 cents per meal. That amount is deducted from the bill that the FSMC gives to the SFA. And so it can be a sizable amount. And it is fiscally irresponsible for an SFA not to take advantage of commodities. Note these two statements on this slide are a part of the prototype FSMC contract. The first statement is SFAs are expected to apply for and utilize commodities. The purchase of commercial products when USDA donated foods are available would render the commercial purchase of these items as unreasonable and unnecessary and contributes to a higher cost for student meals. The second statement is that the FSMC shall accept and use USDA donated foods in as large quantities as may be efficiently utilized in the SFA's nonprofit food service, subject to approval of the SFA. A proposal from a food service management company that places any restrictions on the use of commodities must be considered a non-responsive proposal and must not receive the award. The SFA will also rate the food service management company based on their plans for promoting the program. I can see from looking at the scoring rates in the RFPs that many SFAs do not consider promotion of the program as an important factor. Promotion of the program is a key element in running any child nutrition program. It's your bread and butter because this is where your money comes from to support the program. Just like a restaurant, your program has to be promoted. And there are so many unique educational and fun things that a food service management can do that will promote the program and hopefully both increase participation and satisfaction. Many food service management companies are providing educational signage in the cafeteria. Some are installing closed circuit TV with nutritional messages and upcoming menus. There are also some that are advertising menu on Facebook and other social media platforms. Some are conducting nutrition activities such as promotions of the month, culinary exhibitions, farm to school activities. Find out how each FSMC plans to participate in wellness activities. How does the FSMC plan to participate and respond to the advisory committee's feedback? These are all important things to look at when evaluating proposals. As I said, these are the things that count. These are the things that grow the food service program, and it's a win-win for all. The students have high quality food, and they want to eat the meals. When we know that when they're eating healthy food and eating breakfast, their student grades improve. It's a win for the SFA because parents and teachers like the food service, so there are less complaints. The parents don't have to pack a lunch for the child. When students want to eat the meals, the FSMC makes more money, the SFA makes more money to help support the program. This slide represents the 4 required components of a wellness policy. Each school must have an active wellness program. And the FSMC can have a direct impact on the first 2 components, nutrition education and nutrition promotion. The FSMC can promote healthy eating and provide nutrition education with signage, creative menus, posters, bulletin boards, and social media. They can participate in the farm to school activities and school gardens. They can offer taste testings to students. They can agree to place fruits and vegetables where they're easy to access. They can share nutrition, calorie, and sodium content information with students and families. The SFA and the FSMC should continually be evaluating new ways to market and promote the school meals program. As an SFA, it's important to find out how responsive each FSMC is being to other SFAs in participating in their wellness program. You think about it, basically, they can be the ones that complete all of the nutrition education and the nutrition program, nutrition promotion in your school. So they're one of the main players in complying with your wellness policy. Professional development for staff is one of the new evaluation criteria. You want to know, what is each FSMC's plan for providing and maintaining professional development for their staff? What internal controls does each FSMC have in place to ensure employees receive the required training? Obviously, the guy in this kitchen doesn't know that you can't smoke in the kitchen. There have been several SFAs written up on an administrative review because the FSMC didn't provide the required number of hours of training, or they didn't maintain proper documentation of the training. And it is obvious from reviewing some of the health inspections of food service management companies that food safety and HACCP training need to be a high priority. And SFAs need to be monitoring the sanitation of the kitchens at their schools, as well as any off-site kitchens. They should be requiring the FSMC to provide them with a copy of all health inspections. The SFA must maintain all health inspections for the sites they operate and maintain them on file with the state agency and or USDA to review. They also have to maintain health inspections of any off-site kitchens where their food is being prepared. USDA regulation requires that professional development records list the following things: the employee name, the school, their title, the training title, topic and objectives, the training source, the dates, and the total training hours to be maintained. These records must be kept electronically, either in a local database, in paper files, or through a tracking tool. And they also have to be maintained for the FSMC staff. If the FSMC staff don't have documentation of the number of hours and the appropriate training, the school food authority, not the FSMC, will receive a finding on their administrative review. USDA regulations concerning required professional standards applies to all school nutrition employees, whether the SFA operates the program or contracts with an FSMC. The number of annual training hours required each year varies by job category. So as you can see from the chart on this slide, training must be job specific and intended to help employees perform their duties well. Another new evaluation criteria that has been added is lost accounts. Each FSMC submitting a proposal must complete attachment DD, the summary of accounts. The Food Service Management Company lists all of the contracts they have held since July 1st of 2016. The start date and end date of the contract must be included, and the FSMC must include a reason for the contract termination. The SFA should contact all SFAs that entered the contract early. The SFA should include that information when providing the Step 2 documentation to the state agency. The SFA may want to evaluate the experience of the district manager, the account manager, and the dietitian working with child nutrition programs. This evaluation factor, as I said before, is optional, but it's pretty important. Often, the Food Service Management Company is only as good as the people working closely with the SFA. What kind of experience do they have in working with child nutrition programs? Working in hotels or colleges or hospitals is much different than working in the child nutrition program. Local procurement is also an optional evaluation factor. An increasing number of child nutrition program operators want to source local food and provide complementary educational activities that emphasize food, agriculture, and nutrition while supporting the local economy and the local farmers. Including local procurement and advertising to students through education or other activities can enhance your program and encourage students to eat your meals. As I said before, you must provide adequate justification to award the contract to a food service management company. The state agency has not been receiving detailed justification for awarding to one food service management company over another. As you can see through the information provided in this training, choosing the right FSMC requires some work. Again, as a committee, you must be able to answer yes to this question. If anyone else were to review the FSMC proposal, the proposal summary, and the scorecards, would they come to the same conclusion as you did? If not, you have not provided adequate justification, and the state agency will return the scoring forms. This could postpone the award of your contract. Another change to the process is that the SFA committee will come to a consensus score and submit only one scorecard A to the state agency. But each committee member must sign scorecard A, and there should be at least 3 members on the committee. The next document that has to be completed is Form B, and this is your scoring summary. The scores from all of your scorecard A's are transferred to scorecard B. And the contract is awarded to the FSMC with the highest score. And this form must be signed by the head of the RFP committee. The next document that must be completed is Form C, the Consolidated Proposal Summary. The SFA is to provide the fixed price per lunch meal equivalent, the total estimated amount of the bid, and the total points that are received by each vendor. All employees participating in the procurement or FSMC contract process must sign the Standards of Conduct and Certification Statement. The SFA must maintain these forms on file for the duration of the contract. When you are awarding the contract, make sure that you have the certification regarding debarment suspension. Make sure it's been signed before awarding the contract. Also, make sure you've received the signed certification for regarding lobbying and the disclosure of lobbying activities form. And make sure to execute the independent price determination certificate. The documents that you need to submit to the state agency include the signed Step 2 documents, the completed scorecard A, completed scorecard B, and the consolidated form C. Also, if the SFA has chosen to have the FSMC submit a menu with their proposal, the FSMC chosen for the award of the contract must provide the SFA with accurate menu certification documents utilizing a dated 1-week menu from the 21-day cycle menu that was included in the proposal. The menu must be developed in accordance with the provisions of 7 CFR Part 210 and 220. The SFA must review the menu certification documents before awarding the contract. If there's errors, this could be a red flag. The menu certification documents must contain all required information needed for menu certification approval by the state agency. If the SFA is new, they will use the menu certification documents to upload into the CMP online system. The document should be provided with the Step 2 documents, and the state agency will not approve any food service management company contract without an accurate menu certification document. In addition, the SFA also submits copies of all correspondence with FSMCs concerning the RFP and a signed copy of the contract before execution. Before execution means before, but it means the FSMC has signed a contract, the SFA representative has signed the contract, but the SFA has not provided a copy of the contract to the FSMC. The state agency must also be provided with a USB containing a copy of each completed proposal and all required attachments for each FSMC that submitted a proposal. All documents, both within the proposal and any attachments, must be typed. The only thing that should not be typed is signatures. The school food authority may not award the bid until written approval is received by the state agency, and the SFA cannot make any claims for reimbursement served by a company until the contract is approved. This is a USDA regulation that we have to follow. And remember again that the SFA is legally responsible for the conduct of the food service program and must provide supervision to the FSMC in such a manner so as to ensure compliance with the rules and regulations of both the state agency and USDA. The SFA is responsible for ensuring that all corrections have been made if problems were noted during the sponsor review, the administrative review, or a program audit. Too often, the SFA turns the management of the food service operation over to a food service management company and or a consultant. The SFA must remember that they are 100% responsible for the food service program, and the responsibility cannot be delegated to an FSMC or a consultant. So let's talk a little bit about managing the contract. The 21-day cycle menu that's included in the RFP or in the proposal from a food service management company must be adhered to for the first 21 days of meal service. After that time, changes may be made only with written approval from the sponsor. The FSMC should submit a written request to change the menu, and it must be accompanied by an updated nutrient analysis. The SFA must receive the updated analysis before approving menu changes. The analysis must show that the menu is in compliance with USDA regulations. The SFA is also to maintain all menu change documents and approvals and the analysis on file. The SFA is also responsible for ensuring that all menu requirements are met and that only reimbursable meals are served and claimed. The SFA must make sure that all meals that are claimed are reimbursable. The SFA is responsible for certifying that the claim is correct. They also must make certain that the Food production records are completed each day for all reimbursable meals, and that the completed food production records provide all of the information that is contained in the LDOE prototype food production record, regardless of whether they're completing a production record by hand or whether they're computer generated. The food service management company must provide the SFA with documentation of food costs and revenues on a monthly basis and must include the following: food cost for reimbursable meals, food cost for non-program foods, revenue for non-program foods, and revenue from program foods, as well as total revenue. This is needed for the SFA to complete the non-program revenue tool. The sponsor must monitor the food service program through periodic on-site visits, including, as we said, at least one site review of counting and claiming. Make sure that those documents are kept on file. Again, the counting and claiming review must take place before February 1st of each school year. And if the review discloses any problems with school meals counting and claiming, the SFA must ensure that the school implements corrective action and conducts a follow-up within 45 days of the review to make sure that all problems have been resolved. In compliance with 2 CFR 200.420 to 4.475, compensation of employees for the time devoted and identified to the school food service. The SFA must have documentation of how an employee's time working with the child nutrition program is calculated. For example, the director of operations has many functions. Only a small part of their day is spent working in the child nutrition program, especially if they employ a food service management company and or a consultant. This documentation needs to be available in accordance with your agreement to operate the USDA programs at all times for audits and reviews. The SFA is also responsible for making sure that the FSMC follows the Buy American. The only time the SFA should see non-domestic agricultural products being purchased by the food service management company is when a domestic product is not available or when the price of the domestic product is substantially higher than the non-domestic product. Many domestic canned and frozen fruits and vegetables are available. Make sure you take a hard look at any fruits and vegetables that the food service management company says are not available in an American variety. There are some tropical varieties like bananas, pineapples, mandarin oranges that are not domestically grown. And there are some fruits and vegetables that are available only seasonally. But if the food service management company has local American grown products available, they should not be buying foreign products. And it's the SFA's responsibility to know what agricultural products are available from the US before approving exceptions. But if you need assistance in this area, please contact the state agency. Additional requirements in monitoring the contract. The SFA is also responsible for making sure all bills are monitored prior to payment to assure that the FSMC has not double billed or included costs that are not allowable. Remember, invoices must reflect only meal times rate. Second meals, adults, and visitors are all charged at the contract price. The SFA is responsible for ensuring that the advisory committee of parents and students and teachers has met periodically to assist in menu planning, and that the meetings are documented. The food service management company director should be included in those advisory committee meetings and be responsive to the concerns of the committee. As stated before, the SFA is responsible for ensuring that all SFA and FSMC staff have received the required number of professional development hours. And remember that the FSMC won't receive any funding. The consultant won't receive any funding. The SFA will be the only one receiving a finding on administrative review if these requirements are not met. And lastly, I know this question is lurking in people's minds because we have a number of SFAs that are in their 5th year of their contract, but the state agency has not received any information from USDA about extending food service management contracts into the 6th year for the school year 22-23. SFAs that are in the 5th year should plan to begin the RFP process as soon as possible. The food service management company prototype RFP and instructions have been approved by USDA and will be posted to the CMP website. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at the telephone number or the email address on the screen. We will be more than happy to help you. There's a question here about, please revisit how the food service management company credits reimburses the charter school when commodities are used. Is it through an annual credit, biannual? No, it's done on a monthly basis. When a food service when a SFA receives the bill, they should receive their commodity credits on that bill. Any other questions? Again, feel free to call us. I know this is a big change for this year. So we are really trying to make sure that the food service management company procurement process is done according to USDA guidelines. So we have made some revisions to make sure that we can help with that. So, but feel free to call us if you have any questions. If there's no more questions today, wish you a good rest of the week.